The morning sun rose over Willow Creek Lane, casting soft golden light across a quiet suburban street. The Johnson family prepared for their day, children slinging backpacks over small shoulders, parents coordinating lunches and work schedules. Outside, a figure stood like a storm cloud waiting to burst, Barbara, the neighbor who had long cultivated an air of entitlement, sipping her coffee, sunglasses perched on her nose, lips curled into a smirk that spelled trouble. She had parked her SUV directly across the Johnsons' driveway, a deliberate blockade, a subtle declaration, "I am in control here." Mr. Johnson stepped outside with his daughter, pausing at the sight of the obstruction. "Daddy, how are we going to get to school?" she asked, eyes wide. His chest tightened, not from fear, but from the suffocating frustration of injustice. Barbara tilted her head, her voice dripping with arrogance. "Oh, don't mind me. Maybe walking is good exercise for you." The words carried the sting of superiority, an invisible whip that cut deeper than any physical confrontation. Mrs. Johnson emerged calmly, her voice steady. "Barbara, could you please move your car?" Barbara laughed, the sound high-pitched, mocking. "I've lived here longer than you people. I think that earns me the right to park wherever I want." Her emphasis on "you people" landed like a hammer, drawing murmurs from neighbors peeking through windows. Hours passed. Children missed buses, meetings were delayed, phone calls unanswered. Barbara's smirk widened, confident she had asserted dominance. But the Johnsons had patience born of experience. They didn't rush to confront, they didn't raise voices in vain, they let the arrogance simmer. When evening arrived, Barbara was hosting guests in her driveway, laughing over her victory, oblivious to the storm about to strike. Mr. Johnson approached calmly, folder in hand, and placed it atop her hood. The documents, titles, deeds, and maps, spoke the truth loudly. The street she claimed to own legally belonged to the Johnson family. Gasps rippled through the gathering. Barbara's face drained of color, her smirk shattered. That can't be true," she stammered, voice trembling. Mr. Johnson nodded, measured and unwavering. "It's true. You didn't just block our driveway, Barbara. You blocked our street." Mrs. Johnson stepped forward, eyes blazing with quiet authority. "We lead here now. Respect is non-negotiable." Neighbors murmured in astonishment, some embarrassed for siding with Barbara, others finally seeing justice enacted. Barbara, however, was not finished. Pride wounded, ego bruised, she made a call the following morning. Construction crews arrived, drills screaming through asphalt, tearing at the road with reckless delight. Chaos erupted. Children clutched their parents, neighbors scattered, and Barbara stood at the center of it all, waving a demolition order like a scepter. "Rules beat paper every time," she shouted. The Johnsons confronted her calmly, but a sudden line of black SUVs appeared at the street's entrance. Tinted windows rolled down, revealing suited officials carrying briefcases, badges glinting in the sunlight. One woman stepped forward, her voice firm. "We're from the Federal Property Commission. This case is bigger than anyone here realizes. We need to speak with the Johnson family immediately." Barbara's smirk faltered. The neighborhood fell silent, tension thick enough to choke. The Johnsons exchanged wary glances, realizing the battle was no longer personal. It had escalated, now teetering on a scale that could shake the community to its core. Barbara had underestimated not just a family, but the very system of accountability she thought she could manipulate. The lesson hung in the air: power assumed through arrogance can be fleeting, respect earned through patience and integrity lasts a lifetime. But as the Johnsons prepared to meet the federal officials, a chill wind swept down the block, and Barbara, eyes narrow, whispered to herself, "They think this is over. It's only just begun." The street held its breath. The sun rose over Willow Creek Lane like a warning bell. The street, usually quiet, was now a battlefield. Barbara stood smugly in front of her SUV, arms crossed, eyes scanning the block as if daring the Johnsons to act. But the Johnsons had no need to act recklessly, their power was quiet, lawful, undeniable. Mr. Johnson stepped forward first, folder in hand, documents gleaming in the morning light. Beside him, Mrs. Johnson held their youngest child's hand, eyes sharp, calm, ready. Barbara laughed, a hollow sound, dripping with false confidence. "So, you think a few papers can change anything?" she spat. "The city council, the association, they're on my side. You'll see, your little victory won't last." The Johnsons didn't flinch. Instead, they gestured to the line of black SUVs now fully parked along the block. Out stepped a team of federal agents, suits pressed, badges flashing in the sunlight. The lead agent, a woman with an air of authority that made even Barbara hesitate, spoke clearly, "Ms. Johnson, Mr. Johnson, this situation involves federal oversight. Your ownership claim is not just valid, it is protected. And Ms. Barbara, your actions could carry serious legal consequences." Barbara's smirk faltered, then cracked. Her hands trembled as the gravity of the moment sank in. The neighbors who had once peeked nervously from windows now stared openly, whispers growing into murmurs of disbelief. Some clapped softly, others cheered quietly, the tide had shifted. For the first time, Barbara understood that power wasn't about intimidation, it was about truth, law, and respect. But Barbara's desperation didn't end quietly. She waved her demolition order, shouting, "This is still mine. I have the city's backing." The agents stepped closer, their presence unyielding. "No," the lead agent said sharply, "you have no authority to alter property that doesn't belong to you. Your actions constitute illegal interference." Barbara's friends looked around, stunned and silent, as the reality sank in. Her ego, built on years of unchecked arrogance, crumbled in minutes. The Johnsons remained calm, their quiet strength speaking louder than any words. One neighbor finally stepped forward, a small smile on her face. "She's been wrong all along. Finally, the truth is visible to everyone." Barbara's eyes darted nervously. Her empire of intimidation, her sense of control, evaporated before the street she had thought she ruled. The federal agents began documenting her actions, taking statements, and reviewing her orders. Barbara's lawyer stuttered, unable to salvage credibility. The street, once a theater of her dominance, had become a courtroom, and she was the defendant. By midday, Willow Creek Lane had returned to the Johnsons. Children played, neighbors peeked over fences with admiration, and the Johnsons' authority was cemented. Barbara stood frozen, her pride shattered, finally understanding that paper, patience, and integrity had beaten arrogance, selfishness, and intimidation. As the federal agents left, the Johnsons watched, relief washing over them. But from the corner of the block, Barbara's lips tightened into a thin line, a spark of defiance flashing in her eyes. Her voice, barely audible, whispered through the quiet neighborhood, "You think this is the end? You haven't seen the last of me." The street fell silent again. The Johnsons knew justice had been served. But Barbara's words lingered, a haunting reminder, victory can be sweet, yet the shadows of challenge can always return. And sometimes, the lessons of humility are only the beginning. Willow Creek Lane would never be the same, and neither would Barbara, or the Johnsons. Justice had been claimed, lessons learned, and power restored, but a new storm, subtle and dangerous, hovered just beyond the horizon, promising that no victory is ever permanent.